All right, so we're back to our Fridays. We got our normal crew back after our book tour. That was awesome book tour. Hold on one second because I gotta click myself out of here now. All right,
Yeah,
so on
so
this.
while you get that together, I want to just tell everybody that's been following the book reading program that we've been reading these various books. We appreciate y'all keeping abreast with this book reading. I'm glad that y'all been tuning in. Watch, I see our followers is starting to slowly grow up. You know what I mean? Span. But yeah, we appreciate everyone being a part of this, but also being a part of the ones that took place in the East Coast book tour, the Principal Unity tour that we just recently did. It was epic. Me and Alyssa was out there, and it was really historic. It was one of the most moments that stood out to all of us was the Southern Connecticut State University working with the
So
students.
good.
Man,
So
so good. uh, just to let y'all know, we got a documentary that Comrade Rob Quarters with the White Panther Party. He's gonna be putting together, so people that missed it will see glimpses of the book tour throughout the time that we was doing it, and get a chance to, see the highlights of the book tour. So stay tuned for that. We'll be uploading that to the YouTube channel and stuff like that. But yeah, I just wanted to say, I told all my co-moderators on here, I appreciate all of y'all for holding us down while we was away. That was what comrades do, you know what I mean? So it's a pleasure to be back on. It's been like several Fridays I ain't been on here, so I'm glad to be back on here with the comrades and everything. So yeah, if Lisa want to say anything else because she was a part of it, definitely feel free.
That junk was awesome. It was one of the most incredible experiences of my life, and like I went to 4 of them, and every single one of them was so individually different. So I also wanted to add to what Kwame was saying, that all of the like entire things, I'm pretty sure that Rob has all of like the however long that we were at each venue up on the Second Rainbow Coalition YouTube page as well. So like the first hour of each one of those videos is going to be the same. It's going to be the documentary, but then each discussion is completely different, and it's awesome. I watched the Poor People's Army one, but I haven't gotten to any of it. I didn't get to the other ones yet. But the ones that I was able to experience in person were absolutely incredible, and to have like some of my like home base homies involved too was like, yeah, oh my god, oh my god, it was great. It was great.
Yeah,
I loved every second of it.
I tell y'all something that y'all might not know. We went and snatched up Soupy Turo with the New Area Lords and Cherubim and dragged him back to New York. You know what I mean? We put a black hoodie over his head, put him in a trunk, and whisked him away. You know what I'm saying? Nah, I'm just playing.
Somehow he drove himself, but he was still blindfolded.
But no, for real,
that was dope.
That came out of the blue. Like we reached out to Subi. We was actually like 4 minutes away from his house when we
we were looking for parking.
Yeah, we was looking for parking,
and I was like, I don't know why I didn't think of this first, because I thought that they were already, because like the Young Lords are out in Puerto Rico right now, doing community work out there. So I thought that Subi was already gone. So like I didn't even think that he's out there. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I texted him. I'm like, hey, can I park my car in front of your house? And then he was like, well, how long do you guys have? Like, how long do you need? And I was like, but you don't have time tomorrow. You have to go to the airport. He's like, no, I'll go with you right now. I'll go to New York. And we were like, yes, okay, we'll chill here for a little while.
Right.
He hopped in the shower, got ready, and came with us. It was like awesome.
All right, literally, we was 4 minutes away from his house. So this is the first time I've been to Connecticut. I don't know if I ever been to New Haven, but yeah, we showed up and he was like, "Man, what's up, comrade?" You know what I mean? I ended up getting the necklace that Subi be wearing around his neck, the one I was wearing around the tour. That came from Subi. I was like, "Hey, I want that, comrade." Yeah, and he gave it to me. I was like, he's like, don't even trip. I got plenty of those, you know what I mean? So I was repping it for the Young Lords, a couple of the stops and stuff, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's a lot of moments and stuff that, Alyssa know about that was highlights and good times, going out, spending time with the comrades, and even going out with the people that might have came to the event and they come to one of the lounges or bars and stuff, and being able to really build with them and get to know them as individuals. I want to shout out the John Brown Gun Club. They came out, did a hell of a job on our security at 3 of the events. You know what I mean? One of them, we definitely needed them. Fascists threw a brick through Red Ink's window and put on their commie scumbags trying to intimidate them. You know what I'm saying? So having them out there, I tell you another funny story that might not be in the documentary, but when the John Brown Gun Club was doing our security, they didn't even come into the event. They stayed outside the whole time to make sure none of the fascists came and try to, attack the event. Well, come to find out, some older women saw them out there, and they came out there thinking they were fascists. So they came out there to protest them, right? And then, well, listen to this. And then somebody called the police thinking that, again, they were fascists. So I'm over here like speaking, and then I see the police pull up and just stop right in front of the library that is hosted us, and they just sit there for a minute. But I guess they finally figured out that they were doing security to make sure the fascists didn't come over there. So there was some little funny moments that was captured, might have been captured, I don't know. But that me, Alyssa, Rob, and Hi had moments to share laughs about and stuff. You know what I mean? I thought that was real funny for them older women come out there and protest them, and then find out, well, they're actually with all of us. You know what I mean?
They're actually the anti-fascists. I wish that I saw them so that I could adapt them up before they left, because I totally missed that. Like, I saw the cops, so I didn't go outside. I was like, I don't want to talk to them. But and I knew John Brown had it, but I was keeping my eye on the situation. You know what I mean? But I did not see the little old ladies.
Hey man, that would have been hilarious.
You guys, Zombie has a hand up.
Okay, yeah, Zombie.
Yeah, just one more little thing to feed y'all's egos, having to do with your book club. One of my commie TikTok friends was at the Southern Connecticut University thing. I think I know they were in Connecticut, and they had thought for a while that they might want to join Guardian Rebellion, but were kind of unsure. After coming to the book club and finding out that Guardian Rebellion was part of Rainbow Coalition, and that's what you guys were representing, dude, they signed up the next day. They were so impressed with the book club. I mean, they talked to me about it for a while afterwards. But yeah, y'all
that was by far my favorite one. That one was absolutely incredible.
At the same time. So good job, you guys.
That's what's up. I would have, if I wasn't a part of the second Rainbow Coalition, I would have signed up myself that day. I was like, okay, yeah, I like what y'all doing. You know what I mean?
He was like, I was gonna tell him that I knew that I knew you, but I didn't know your real name. And I said, that's okay, because they don't either.
Right.
I said Zombie would have worked.
Hey, that's what's up, man.
But yeah, he was quite impressed and quite happy that he was able to attend. So good job, guys. Good job.
That's what's up. Yeah, we turned that one into a rally. Like I ain't even expect that was go down like that. I was like, well, this ain't just a regular presentation we're here. This is like we really was interactive. You know what I mean?
Oh, that one was so good. That was incredible. Like if you watch any of them, watch that one.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I can't vouch for the first 3, but that one I was like, I mean, and I was also just already like in my glory because John Brown was there and everything too. So
yeah.
But that one, and Corinne came out, and oh man, it was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, Zombie. So you know what I mean? Like now we know another part that we didn't even know, like how we was influencing people to join our movement. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Good job, you guys. Good job.
That's what's up.
Nice, great representation of the coalition.
Hey.
Absolutely. All right, well, we gonna get right into it because I know we got a lot of reading to do. This book right here. Wait till we finish, y'all. This is gonna be like everybody's gonna like love Aaron Dixon. I'm gonna reach out to him pretty soon because he said he's willing to come on at the end and speak to the whole Rainbow Coalition about this book. After we read it, we can ask him questions and whatnot. So I looking forward to that. So, yep, whenever you're ready, Alyssa.
All right, let's do it. All right, so let's say a preface. The United States was founded as a colonial settler state based upon white supremacy and slavery, stealing the lands of the indigenous nations, breaking every treaty made with them, and confining them to reservations or concentration camps. As the country became more powerful, the eagle sunk its claws into other nations, making war on Mexico and grabbing its northern territory, invading Cuba, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, and the Philippines, and either annexing them outright or making them colonies or neo-colonies. And in the 20th century, it became the major imperialist power in the world, exploiting both the people within its boundaries and those in every other country, bullying them with military interventions and robbing them of their right to self-determination. As Huey P. Newton stated, we have two enemies to fight, racism and capitalism. Between the two, capitalism is primary. Racism is a byproduct of capitalism. The working people of the world of every ethnicity or nationality face a common enemy that is destroying life on Earth. Our enemy is a small ruling class of property owners controlling most of the world's wealth and resources. We must have our basic needs met to live a good and meaningful life: food, shelter, healthcare, education, freedom from oppression by the state, and peace with other nations. To obtain these essential things for life, we must have the power to see to it that the abundance that is available is shared equitably. Now, the Statement of Unity for the Second Rainbow Coalition. The legacy of the First Rainbow Coalition dates back to its founding on April 4th, 1969, by the original Black Panther Party, original Young Lords, and Young Patriots organization. A number of other organizations joined this coalition not too long afterwards, such as the American Indian Movement, Brown Berets, Rising Up Angry, the Red Guards, and others. Since the founding of the United States, the masses had developed a number of popular movements that came together to fight back against this capitalist imperialist system in various ways around particular demands. Nevertheless, none had established a movement quite like the First Rainbow Coalition. This historic movement was the first of its kind that established a model of class struggle like no other. Its charismatic leader, Chairman Fred Hampton of the Illinois chapter of the original Black Panther Party, stated that at the end of the day, we weren't engaged in a race struggle. He said, "It's a class struggle, goddammit." By uniting with the various oppressed ethnicities and masses, they were able to bridge the gap between various ethnic communities that white supremacy had long sought to keep divided. This class solidarity equipped them with the material basis and class consciousness to see their common class condition. Therefore, the necessity to form a united front against their common class oppressor, the capitalist imperialist ruling class. The ruling class viewed this as the greatest threat to their class rule, and subsequently used the entire repressive forces of the state, police, courts, jails, prisons, intelligence agencies, etc., in order to crush this emerging revolutionary socialist movement. We refounded the Rainbow Coalition on May 14th, 2021, with the intent of upholding the legacy of the original Rainbow Coalition. We believe that this historic example is the model for the united front that will best serve our class liberation. By upholding the 10-point program of the original Black Panther Party, which was subsequently adopted and later expanded by the original Young Lords, Young Patriots organization, and all other original Rainbow Coalition members, we establish our programmatic unity. The 6 disciplinary rules that we uphold ties all organizations in our coalition to a common professional discipline. History has bestowed upon our generation a common class mission to fulfill. The representatives of the capitalist imperialist ruling class, represented by the Democratic Party and Republican Party, cannot liberate us. It is their class intention and interest to uphold our common class oppression. Therefore, it is only we, the oppressed masses of all ethnicities and nationalities, who must build the necessary class solidarity, class consciousness, organizational structures, and a united front that will ultimately liberate ourselves. This is what the Second Rainbow Coalition is committed to. This is the historic mission we intend to fulfill. Dare to struggle, dare to win, all power to the people, boots on the ground. All members of the coalition are the new African Black Panther Party, the American Indian Movement, the Northeast East Woodland Chapter, the White Panther Party, Green Party of New Jersey, Poor People's Army, La Mesa Nacional de Brown Berets, Fury, which is Feminist Uprising to Resist Inequality and Exploitation, NASO, North Alabama School for Organizers, New Era Young Lords, and Guardian Rebellion. Our 6 disciplinary rules are: 1, members will conduct themselves in a manner to bring credit to the coalition and will treat others with respect and politeness. 2, members will be sober when on Rainbow Coalition business and will not engage in any criminal activity while a member. 3, no member will engage in violence except in the extremity of self-defense. 4, members will not gossip nor be divisive to the unity of the Second Rainbow Coalition. 5, members will not act as informers nor work against the purpose of the Second Rainbow Coalition. And 6, nobody is authorized to speak for the Second Rainbow Coalition unless authorized to do so.
Thank you, Alyssa.
You're welcome.
So that's our statement of unity for the Second Rainbow Coalition. That's the programmatic unity that ties all the organizations to the Rainbow Coalition together. Yeah, we will always read that so everyone is familiar with the basis of our unity going forward. So we're about to jump into My People Are Rising. Memoir of a Black Panther Party Captain, Aaron Dixon's book. Okay, we're gonna turn to page 33 if you got the book. I'm thinking it's the same thing on the PDF, chapter 4, Rumblings in the South. I'm gonna read that, and it's a short chapter, so we're gonna read that, then discuss it, and then jump into the next chapter. All right, Rumblings in the South. Oh, there has been times that I thought I couldn't last for long, but now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change is gonna come. Oh yes, it will. Sam Cooke, A Change is Gonna Come, 1964. The actual chapter. During the same period, but seemingly removed from the occasional personal drama playing itself out in my life, there were tremendous changes occurring in other places of the world and the United States. The United States and the Soviet Union have become world superpowers pitted against each other. Communist Russia versus the United States, leader of the free world. Both nations possess intercontinental ballistic missiles with nuclear warheads. I remember the lurking fear of the prospect of a nuclear attack and how those who could afford to do so built bomb shelters. The Jewish family on the corner of our block built one, further alienated themselves from the increasing numbers of Black families moving into Madrona. In African colonies, Black revolutionaries supported by Moscow were organizing and fighting to overthrow the European colonizers, dispensing with 300 years of imperial oppression. This revolutionary activity led to the first democratically elected African Prime Minister, Patrice Lumumba of the Democratic Republic of Congo, who after only 7 months in office was assassinated with the backing of the CIA. Revolution was also brewing in South and Central America as poor and oppressed Latin countries were tiring of the domination of American corporations and the exploitation of their people and land. Closer to home in Cuba, Fidel Castro marched into Havana and overthrew Fulgencio Batista, the U.S.-supported tyrant who had allowed American businessmen to use Cuba as their personal whorehouse and casino. The dynamic intensified when Castro aligned himself with the Soviet Union. The increasing probability of Russian missiles being positioned close to U.S. soil led to a failed CIA plot to overthrow Castro, the Bay of Pigs debacle. And across the Pacific, following World War II, the Allied powers have foolishly and selfishly split Vietnam into 2 nations, giving North Korea to the French and setting the stage for what would become America's own Waterloo. In the deep South of the United States, Black folks began to lay the foundation for the permanent transformation of America. I remember well sitting at home watching the black and white images on TV, the sit-ins, the demonstrations, the faces of hatreds, white men beating or hosing down the protesters, Black and sometimes white who were mobilized against segregation, a byproduct of 300 years of slavery, oppression, and terrorism. Change was in the air, and soon my generation would step up to play a leading role in confronting the archaic and puritanical past. I had seen Martin Luther King Jr. on TV, fiercely leading his demonstrators into the jaws of the enemy. He was poised for greatness, almost saintly. In November 1961, King came to Seattle to support a march against redlining. On a sunny Saturday afternoon, I found myself marching down 23rd Avenue South, walking arm to arm with thousands of other people of color singing "We Shall Overcome" and other protest songs. It was a unifying moment of solidarity, a feeling of serene peace, and the possibility that our world could come together to create something new, something different. You could feel the determination, the sense of purpose, the spirit of oneness engulfing us all, culminating into a large rally and a speech by Martin Luther King. Quietly and solemnly, I made my way to the bandstand at Garfield Park, watching him and listening to his words that I had heard on TV, on the radio, and on the record albums. I took a spot on the edge of the bandstand, scanning the crowd, looking for a threat to our savior and spiritual leader, as if a 13-year-old could do anything to stop assassin's bullet. But I realize now that my taking that spot, that position of defense, was symbolic. It represented an impending shift, a change of the guard. All across the country, thousands of Black, white, Asian, Native American, and Latino kids just like me were slowly making an unconscious move, positioning for the big push to change America. The integrationists were organizing and fighting for desegregation of the schools, probably the biggest strategic blunder of the civil rights movement, in that it forced Black kids to travel across town to hostile, racially charged environments. While white kids were able to stay comfortably in their own schools and communities, Black kids had to give up their secure surroundings and the dedicated intention and understanding of their Black or sometimes white teachers. But at the time, school integration sounded good, and it felt right for me personally to work toward Martin Luther King's dream. So in 1964, I signed up for the Seattle's first volunteer busing program. The timing was perfect because I felt I needed to get out of the gladiator schools in the Black community. In junior high, the combat had slowly moved beyond fisticuffs to include weapons such as push-up knives and switchblades, like the ones we had seen in West Side Story and Blackboard Jungle. I owned several push-button knives and stilettos. We would play with knives and show them off during recess, fortunately never really using them on one another. For ninth grade, I transferred to an all-white school called Denny Blaine, located in a white neighborhood of fine homes called Magnolia, which sat on a bluff overlooking Elliott Bay. I had chosen this school partly because of a friend of mine, Mike Rossetti, went there. Mike spent the summer at his aunt's house down the street from ours in Marona. His aunt was a madam, and at night her place transformed into a bordello. Mike was scrawny, troubled Italian kid whose father was involved in some mafia type activities. Mike's dad was hardly ever around, but he showed up on occasions in his white Cadillac with a CB radio and a snub nose 38 to dish out dollar bills to his son and wife. Mike's wife was definitely being abused. She often had bruises and black eyes and was clearly overwhelmed to having to raise Mike and his two sisters on her own. I enjoyed that year at Denny Blaine. I had only a few friends, but that was okay as long as nobody tried to mess with me. Being about the only Black kid in the school, I was looked to as an athlete. I played on a flag football team as halfback. The girls even started a cheer when I wasn't in the game. We want Aaron. We want Aaron. I guess they must have been disappointed at basketball trials because at that point I had not played a lot of basketball and ended up making the team. However, I did go out for track and towards the middle of the season. As the school was so far from my home, I only went to a few practices, and when I did, I worked on the high jump. I loved to jump as a little kid. I would try to jump over brushes, fences, anything. At one point, at one of the practices I managed to attend, the coach approached me and informed me with a look of astonishment that I had just broken the state's junior high school record in high jump. You would think that upon such a feat, I would have felt fuel to pursue track and high jumping. But after that day, I never showed up for track practice again. I had always loved sports, especially football. I was taller than most boys my age and quicker than most my size. As I grew older, I channeled all my anger and frustration into playing football at the park. We played in the rain, snow, sleet, hail, hot weather, or freezing weather, pretending to be Gil Sayers, Jim Brown, or Dick Buckus, busting through the line, throwing the halfback for a loss. In the evenings, we stopped at 6 o'clock. Stopped at 6 o'clock, so Elmer, Michael, and I could go home to eat. And sometimes my brothers and I would get to go back outside to play until the sun had disappeared behind the Olympic mountains. I played other sports as well, like ping pong, tennis, basketball, and baseball. But football was my love and passion. I could be reckless, playing with abandon and determination, pulling all the stops to score that winning touchdown or make that great defensive play. My friends always ask me why I never tried out for the Gil Dobie or the Time Youth Football Leagues. I just shrugged my shoulders and said, I don't know. After a year at Denny Blaine, my last year of junior high, I continued on my personal quest towards integrating Seattle schools and enrolled at Queen Anne High School, an all-white high school on top of Queen Anne in a middle-class neighborhood of Victorian homes. Now a sophomore, I finally got the courage to try out for the football team and made it. I remember how quietly excited I was to be issued my uniform, shoulder pads, and helmet. My confidence grew with getting my ankles wrapped and plodding out to the field in my black high top football cleats and lying on the ground doing calisthenics with the team. The coach had a real Southern drawl, something I had heard before only on TV. And at times he seemed to be picking on me as the only black kid on the team. But I wasn't going to let that stop me. Later that week, we started scrimmage. And since I had joined late, I started on the 5th string defense. Within a few days, I had worked my way up to 2nd string, playing middle linebacker. The next day, the 2nd string had a full scrimmage against the 1st string offense. That day I played as if I had been injected with an invincibility potion, proving to myself and to everyone on the field that I had the potential to become a very good player. Every play the offense ran, I was there to stop. On one series, I ran to the right, running down a halfback sweep and grabbed the ball carrier and threw him to the ground. They were left, and I ran the ball carrier down again. They went left, and I ran the ball carrier down again. He came up the middle. I met the fullback, knocking him backwards. Then they tried a short pass over the middle, and I intercepted it and immediately got the hell knocked out of me. The coach recognized that I had the speed to play offense, so he gave me a try at halfback. Even though my dream was to play defense, I was glad for this chance to show him what else I could do. But every time my number was called and I ran into the line, there was no hope. I could not break through. Maybe the white boys on the line were intentionally not blocking the opposing defense. I don't know for certain. For whatever reason, the 2nd string center and guards were not able to break a hole through the 1st string defense while I was at halfback that day. Being unable to break through represented my entire life at that moment and into the future. I would spend a lifetime trying to break through the hole, to find the opening to daylight, to freedom, to respectability. Despite the frustration, I remember traveling home that night on the hour-long bus ride, sitting quietly by myself, feeling the kind of confidence I had never felt before. At last, I had found it. That one thing I could use to ride to the top. One thing I love that could power me up out of my sense of despair and dungeon of nothingness. Humbly, I walked into the kitchen. Mommy was preparing dinner, looking moody. Poppy was sipping a highball, trying to relieve the stress of work in a hostile, racist environment. I finally summed up my courage and said, "I need $25 for insurance so I can continue playing football and playing the game Saturday." "We don't have $25 for football insurance," Mommy responded. Poppy continued to sip it, not acknowledging my request, tacitly agreeing with Mommy.
Kwame,
Yeah.
we have people waiting in the
Oh,
room.
okay. I'm glad you said that.
I was just trying to wait
you.
for you to talk.
Okay. Let me mute everybody. Okay, cool. I'll still be host. I might whenever I read, I'll probably give it to you so you can let people in. That must have been the most disappointing day of my youth. I felt, I guess, I didn't deserve it. I even felt guilty for asking. However much I tried to hide it, I went into a permanent sulk. I took the hurt and anger and put it inside, pushing it down harder with the passage of time, burying it. I never went out for football again, leaving that day on the field as a memory of what could have been. I resolved never again to rely on my parents for anything but the bare necessities of life. Maybe if I had been different, maybe if I had been more outgoing, more gregarious, more confident, I could have overcome my parents' own dark shadows. But I wasn't. I was too sensitive, too quiet, and at times too rebellious. My self-esteem was too low to overcome those obstacles. This would prove to be my struggle in life, to overcome my shyness and my lack of confidence. I continue to play sandlot football, often playing pickup games with future college and NFL players. I also play basketball in the CYO League, where all the high school ball players who did not make their high school teams play. And every summer I play center field for the Parks Department Softball League, frequently traveling to the hostile white neighborhoods for away games. Even as much as I love sports, there seemed to be something else calling me. I just didn't know what. That chapter, one of the things that it's several things stuck out to me, but one thing that stuck out to me in that chapter is the beginning of it when he was talking about like he's 13 years old and he's watching like America changing. He see people out here in the civil rights movement fighting for desegregation. He sees in the world, he sees people fighting for liberation over in Africa, in South America, Central America, over in Asia. You know what I mean? At this time in the world, it was like everybody felt like the inevitability, this was the collective conscious feeling in the air at that time that like life was going to be radically different, that humanity, like all the power of the people was being actualized in a way where people was like, man, we can change, history, we can change human civilization, we can change America, we can change the world. You know what I'm saying? And one thing I was talking about on the book tour, because the Poor People's Army asked us what is one of the differences between the 60s and now. And one of the things I brought up is that we don't have a global national liberation movement that's going on. Like you don't see uprising in Africa, in Asia, and South America, and Central America, like in a very in your face type of way where this was just the norm. You know what I'm saying? And I think that had a big effect on a lot of people in the 60s. You know what I'm saying? Where a lot of people joined the movement in the 60s because everybody felt it was in the air. You know what I'm saying? It was something that it was so tangible that a person like, Aaron Dixon at the age of 13 attended a march with Martin Luther King. And he over here like I'm gonna make sure, nobody assassinate Martin. You know what I mean? Everybody felt a part of the movement. You know what I'm saying? That's something that actually is lacking in our generation. We saw 2020, it was like that after George Floyd. I think that feeling came back. But one thing I also pointed out is that 2020 showed us that it's still here. this is the reason why the Second Rainbow Coalition, us getting our stuff together, us being more organized, us building the political education, us building the necessary institutionalization of what we're doing is going to be critical the next time we have a 2020 type of uprising in this country, really in the world, because we all remember over throughout the world, people were standing up around George Floyd. You know what I mean? It had that same type of feel in the air. You know what I'm saying? I know, because I was tangibly in Minneapolis, and even when I wasn't in Minneapolis, just watching the stuff that was going on across the country and the world at the time, like I was like, dang, man, this might be our time. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can make the most of this. You know what I'm saying? We have to be prepared for those moments the next time that happen, so we can galvanize that and maintain that and keep that campaign going. You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the things I thought was informative about his book, because we did live, you know, except our comrade Che, you know, our elder that's on here right now. Many of us did live at that time, you know what I mean? But I was wondering, like, just since Che's on here, how did that feel to you to live in the 60s? Like, I know you joined the Young Lords. You was a part of Attica. You was a part of the Black Panther Party. You know what I'm saying? You even became the chairman of the Young Lords while in prison and stuff. Like, can you explain, like, how omnipresent, like, the world had this feeling of change at that time?
To me, it was mind-blowing. It was mind-blowing because what we was doing in the prison, I noticed that it was happening also in the streets, in the world, in the country. You know, I mean, prison rebellions right in the community.
Right.
You know,
right.
you don't have to be in prison to be in prison rebellion. You know, and I felt good, man. You know, it was a great feeling at that time. You know, to have been part of, and I still am, but to be part of a movement that was sparkling all over the place. I mean,
Right.
in Africa, as an example, man, Patrice Lumumba was hitting it hard, man. You know,
Right.
and Jomo Kenyatta and the Mau Maus. Remember the Mau Maus? We forget about Mau Maus.
Yeah, Jomo Kenyatta in there.
You know, all that was happening all over the world, man. You know, and then Martin Luther King got killed, and that really sparked everything, man, for us in prison. You know, and then not only Martin Luther King, but Malcolm X got killed. You know,
Right.
and then later on, man, George Jackson got killed. When George Jackson got killed, it really hit the mark, man.
Right.
You know, because we in Attica, man, we love, you know, well, prisoners always loved George Jackson, you know, but we in Attica in particular, we loved him so much, you know, that when he got killed, not when he died, when he got killed, you know, we came up with a hunger strike.
Right.
You know, we had a hunger strike right in the, and the funny thing is that the hunger strike itself strike fear in the guards and the police, because they never seen some shit like that, man. Hunger strike, people coming in there and not eating. Oh no,
Right.
I can't. Yeah, we can't tolerate this shit, man. You know?
Right.
But it was a hunger strike all over, all you know, not only in Attica but in various other prisons. You know,
Right.
so the 60s were really. It was amazing, man. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And I hope that George Floyd was a spark.
Right.
George Floyd was a sparkling, and I hope, man, that was, you know, shit like that happens again. And I hope it doesn't have to be one of our people get killed. But
Yeah.
shit happens again, man. We need to take heed to seize the time. That's what the
These the
Panthers.
times, no doubt.
Seize
Right.
the time, man.
Absolutely.
And take control.
Yeah. Anyone else have any thoughts about this chapter? I want to welcome, I see a number of people jumped on today. I see my comrade Kama on here. Appreciate you jumping on, comrade. Rob Rich jumped on. Tristan James and Zoom user. I appreciate all of y'all coming on, being a part of this. Definitely like to keep on popularizing this book reading program. This is how we develop our, our political consciousness. This is how we build camaraderie shit. You know what I'm saying? With all the comrades across the country, no matter where we live, build that relationship with everyone. So definitely keep on promoting this within y'all various circles of the Second Rainbow Coalition book reading program. So pleasure to have y'all on. This is the book discussion part of we reading Aaron Dixon's book, chapter 4. We're about to get in chapter 5. But if anybody else have any comments about chapter 4? All right. Well, we'll jump in chapter 5 and start that. If Alyssa wants to take over, then Johnny Torres after her.
All right. Chapter 5, Sticking Together. Mom loves both of them. You see, it's the blood. Both kids are good to mom. Blood is thicker
Just a
than
minute. If anybody needs the PDF of this right here, let us know, and I try to send it to, because I'm pretty much in touch with most of the people on here. I can send it to you through your email. Put your email in here, and I'll send you the email of the PDF.
I'd like it.
Yeah,
if
you send it to Rob, then he can probably send it to the group chat that I sent it to.
Okay.
That's
all right.
By the way, it's a pleasure being with you guys. It's a pleasure being with you all.
Absolutely, comrade.
All right. We good?
Yep.
All right. Blood is thicker than water. It's a family affair. Sly and the Family Stone, family affair, 1971. Our family was a unit that found happiness in being together. I remember my parents' constant reminder, you boys stick together. At times, togetherness was enforced, as when we had to do chores as a team. On summer days, before we were old enough to go out and play without asking permission, we had to stay in the house and clean up before being allowed to go out to the park. Joanne cooked our breakfast, making coffee cakes, teaching Elmer and me how to cook. Sometimes we would surprise Mommy and Poppy with a cake we had made from scratch. There were times we had to spring into action as a group, straightening up the house after we had taken it apart, with one of us as the lookout, while the rest hastily tried to put things back in order. One Christmas vacation, we broke a glass window in Mommy and Poppy's room while they were out being Santa Claus. We knew we would be in big trouble when they came home after spending their hard-earned money on our Christmas toys. So Elmer and I swung into action. We had helped Poppy enough around the house to know how to fix a broken window. We took out the broken glass, measured the window, and then ran down to the hardware store and bought a window pane and putty knife with our Christmas money. We hurried back home, set in the glass, and puttied the edges just before Mommy and Poppy returned. Unfortunately, we left a putty knife sitting out and had to confess. On cold winter days during the long Christmas vacation, Elmer, Michael, and I would play sock football on our knees on the hardwood floors in the hallway of the house. It was me against them, using a sock as a football and scooting down the hall on our knees. They could never stop me from scoring a touchdown. Elmer and I were accustomed to doing everything together and were at times inseparable. When we were little kids in Champaign, Mommy sometimes dressed us up like twins in little blue sailor suits, and every Easter we had matching suits. During our early teen years, we sneaked out of the house together by dangling from the veranda outside our bedroom and dropping the last 5 feet to the ground. Then we would roam the neighborhood, enjoying our secret freedom. Through our friendship with Elmer's classmates, Mark and David, we were introduced to the wilderness of the Northwest. We went camping and small bird hunting on many occasions, unsupervised by adults. Exploring along the Sauk River among evergreens and ferns, we were free from our parents, free from our enemies in the city. Though we were only 13 and 14, Mommy and Poppy did not seem to mind our going off into the mountains by ourselves. They were not as supportive, however, when we asked to go to a party or a dance. then the answer was usually no. One December, David, Elmer, Michael, and I went camping at the base of Mount Si, a steep mountain with its base about 40 minutes from Seattle. Mommy and Poppy dropped us off in 2 feet of snow. What the heck? We 4 boys hiked up as far as we could go, carrying our equipment. We set up camp with our old army tent and prepared our meal. After eating, we got in our tent and sleeping bags and pulled out bags of candy. We told stories and laughed until we fell asleep. We awoke at about 3 a.m. to find that 2 of our sleeping bags were soaking wet and our socks and pants were wet as well. It had been snowing all night, and the packed snow on our old tent had leaked through at any points of contact. We decided to share the dry sleeping bags, trying not to move around and bump against the tent. We barely slept that night in such miserable conditions. In the morning, we tried to find some dry socks, but everything was wet. The snow outside was almost 3 feet deep. Without dry clothes or socks, we could not go outside the tent to cook. After our candy was gone, we tried eating raw potatoes. That didn't taste too good or digest well. Finally, we decided to brave the cold, open up the tent, and cook on the Coleman stove. Our hot meal of eggs, potatoes, and bacon was delicious. Although we had planned to camp for 2 nights, we decided we could not stay another night under those conditions and would have to hike out to get to a phone. Since Michael and I had the driest footwear, we struck out in our still damp socks, walking down the mountain trail at a fast pace. Michael lagged behind, but I made sure not to lose sight of him. It was a silent and beautiful walk among the snow-covered trees. The only sounds were an occasional bird chirp and the crunching of snow beneath our every step. It seemed we walked for hours before coming across a little chalet. Inside, a couple was preparing breakfast. They let us use their phone to call our parents and then invited us to join them for breakfast. That evening, we were back home sitting in front of our fireplace, trying to thaw out our frozen feet. We were free to explore in the mountains, but back at the park, we always had to be on guard. One day, while David, Elmer, and I were playing, we heard 5 gunshots. We ran down to the corner of the park, saw 3 young black men lying in 3 different spots. We ran to the side of one of the men. He had been shot between the eyes. Blood was pouring from his wound, and we could hear a gurgling sound as he tried to breathe. We ran over to 2 other men, and they had also been shot in the head. It seemed to take forever for the police and ambulance to arrive. We learned later that the assailant was the oldest of several Harris brothers. The large Harris family, originally from Louisiana, was to a person quiet and respectful, never involved in any controversy, and the brothers were considered nice boys. But like most families from the South, they had a lot of experience with guns and hunting. There had apparently been an ongoing dispute among the 4 young men in the park. It was the first time any of us had seen death. At the time, we didn't think too much about the shooting. It was beyond our comprehension. We had no context to help us understand what we were witnessing, but it was a stark reminder that the deadly violence did not just happen on TV, but was right here with us, waiting to snuff out someone's life, even the innocent. The images of those young men lying alone on the cold ground would always linger in the back of our minds. Even before this incident, Papi always had concerns that if he did not make the right decisions regarding us boys, we would end up in some kind of trouble. This concern had actually led to our moving to Seattle. As the influence of the Blackstone Rangers spread in Chicago, he was taking no chances on his boys getting caught up in the gang scene. Both my cousins in Chicago had succumbed to the lure of the Rangers and their rival gang and the Disciples. To keep us in line, Papi made sure we were not idle during the summers. One summer, Papi got his friend Jerry Sussman to employ us as laborers on his boat. A friend of our whole family, Mr. Sussman, was Jewish. He celebrated Passover with his family. Joanne and I also frequently babysat his 3 children. Mr. Sussman's boat, the Puffin, was a one-mast schooner, a 25-footer with a cabin. We worked hard on that boat for several months, dry docking it, scraping the hull, repainting the hull inside and out, and re-rigging the mast. It was very tedious work, and Mr. Sussman made everything a lesson, stopping to teach us the purpose and importance of each task. After our work on the boat was complete, we sailed up through the Strait of Juan de Fuca in Cypress Island, one of the San Juan Islands up north near Canada. I don't know how much longer, so should I stop?
That's up to you.
Johnny, are you? All right, go ahead.
As we approached our destination, islands were scattered all around us, with green forests, white cliffs, rocky coastlines, and a few sandy beaches. Eagle flyings, herons skimmed the water trying to catch jumping fish, and an occasional orc streamed by in the distance. We finally reached Cypress Island, dropped an anchor, loaded up and dangly, and rolled ashore. We could hardly contain our excitement at being in this lush desert place. Mr. and Miss Sussman and their daughter camped on the beach while Elmer and the two Sussman, is that right? Sussman?
That's how I said it.
Okay, Sussman boys, David and Matthew and I camped island. Our main job was to help Mr. Sussman build a cabin on a cliff overlooking a small bay, in between playing on the beaches and running in the forest. We spent hot days hammering and sawing and hauling materials up the cliff using a pulley. Some days we worked long hours laying the floor and the cabin and putting up the frame. Other days, realizing we were city kids, Mr. Sussman cut us loose to run free. Being on an island reminding me of the book Treasure Island, and I imagined I was a pirate on a cruise ship with Long John Silver. I love being up on Cyprus. No phones, no electricity, no stores, no cars, just an ocean holding countless creatures, some of which made their way to the surface. During low tide, we gathered oysters on a rocky edge of the beach. There seemed to be thousands. We ate them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I remember the solitude of the island, the white sand and green forest. Everything seemed so perfect, so right, so much in harmony. Sometimes I sat on a dried out log watching the sun slowly set, looking up on the vast open clear sky, wishing I could remain there forever. Much too soon, our time was up and we had to sail away, leaving Cyprus behind to go back to the city, back to everyday reality. When Elmer was 15, he got an evening paper route, and I, without a choice in the matter, was ordered to accompany him for the whole year. We left the house together with the papers in Elmer's bag carrier, taking turns carrying the papers to the big houses down by the lake, splitting up and dividing the routes and meeting up again before heading back up the island, back the long, steep hills of Madrona, rain, snow, fleet on hot weather. The two of us worked that paper route as one. There were many times I detested helping my skinny younger brother on his route. I could have been up at the park or running with my friends, or worse, getting into some trouble. Despite being forced to support Elmer's paper route, I truly enjoyed those days of two of us working in tandem for one goal: to finish in the quickest way possible. In a few short years, we would um,
You still there?
yeah, for some reason my screen went blank for a reason. Let me see where I'm at. Fleet Rainer, so I display.
It's the last sentence of the paragraph. In a few short years, we would be
Okay.
working.
In short years, we'll be working in tandem for a much bigger purpose. For my junior year, I transferred to our neighborhood high school, Garfield. I was tired of the racism at the Queen Anne and the whole idea of voluntary integration. Did I say that right? Integration?
Yeah,
Into-
integration.
Great. Yep.
Integration.
Acronym.
Elmer and I also began to drift apart as we got older. Mommy and Papi eased up on their demands that we stick together. Elmer hung with his white friends wearing sandals and a scarf, riding a skateboard, listening to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. My black buddies from Garfield and I sip beer and listen to the Temptations and the Four Tops, gathering in damp basements, trying to sing notes too high for our society's voices, occasionally puffing on some Pall Malls. At some point, we realized we needed to look for work. Emerson Swain, a commonly wild friend, and I got jobs at the Pancake House, washing dishes, making $1 an hour. On weekends, we would get to close the place, leaving us two kids alone in an empty restaurant full of pies and ice cream. We would take a whole pie, top it with vanilla ice cream, and gore ourselves while we hastily cleaned. I took a second job at a Swedish hospital up the street, making $1.75 an hour. Working in the kitchen for a while, I tried to keep both jobs running from one shift to the next. I finally quit the pancake house and considered
Concentrated.
Concentrated.
on the job at Swedish. I worked with the diagrams,
Dietitians.
dietitians, checking the individual patient's menus to make sure the correct food was put on each patient's tray. I enjoyed working. It helped me to free myself, at least partly, from my parents at the hospital. My friend Mike Dean and I worked from 4 to 8 p.m. after school and 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. on the weekends. During the summer, we worked hours, 14-hour days, 7 days a week. On Sunday paydays, Mike and I would have saved enough shark skin suits, Italian sweaters, and loafers. And at Miss Jackson's record shop on 34th, we'd buy the latest from Motown: Junior Walker, Benny King, Mary Wells, Stevie Wonder, and Smokey Robinson. No longer did I have to sit at a sewing machine under a dim lining, tampering the unfashionable baggy pants set by Ma, as I had done on so many occasions. It felt so good to have this financial freedom from my parents. I didn't want to have to ask them for anything other than permission to go out. At 16, I guess you could say I was smelling myself. I felt like knew a few things and maybe even knew enough to set mommy and poppy straight on a few occasions. A collision with reality was inevitable. On one of the many evenings that Poppy chose to work overtime, Mommy and Joanne got into a little disagreement like many girls growing up in the 60s. Joanne was having Joanne was having difficult time with her parents, Mommy and Poppy were no explanation. Did I say that right? Explanation?
Exception.
Exception. Yeah, exception. It was two cultures clashing, the old ways of long skirts and polite pigtails girls who played the piano and did their athletic versus the new girls of the 60s who wanted to wear short skirts and long hair, did the waltz and the hooly and hang with greasy headed boys at the dance, slow grinding to some Smokey Robinson to Etta James, and Mommy's personal frustrations and battles with her own mother often surface in the verbal clashes between her and Joanne. Poppy was occasionally the calming force, the voice of reason in these clashes. But on this particular evening, he was gone in the kitchen. Mommy verbally attacked Joanne, asserting something she amused was true. Joanne did not argue back. Mommy was a small, slight woman, slight
You're
woman.
right. Slate.
Okay, but with a verbally fiery disposition, she even grabbed a belt. I was standing in the hallway watching and listening. Suddenly, I rushed and grabbed the belt from Mommy, looked down at her, and said, "Stop, leave her alone." My actions and words shocked everyone, including Elmer and Michael, who were also standing by, looking in disbelief. I had wanted to say stop for long, but the words had been held at bay long enough and they just came out. Mommy looked at me with amazement and burst into tears. "I'm going to tell your father." Afterwards, Afterward, I could feel the sense of doom in the house. Everyone knew that Poppy would not be happy with disrespecting Mommy, and Poppy's authority was not tolerated in this house. The next morning, as I quietly getting ready for school, I waited my fate. Poppy came into the room, his fist up in anger on his face. I stood there, not almost 6 feet tall, down at a still muscular Poppy. He blurted out, "If you ever do that again, I will knock you out." I just stood there and listened and had no doubt that he would knock me out with one blow. That really didn't matter. He could knock me out 1,000 times and I would have still have done the same thing. I felt strongly that Mommy was wrong, and there, since Joanne was 18, it was time to treat her with respect.
All right. Thanks, comrade Johnny Torres.
No
Uh,
problem.
that was an interesting chapter. That's more so like his coming of age, his teenage years growing up, and I was thinking about when I was listening to y'all read that, like, what was my first job? You know what I mean? Have y'all ever thought about like the difference in pay that each generation was getting? Like when I read that, I was like, dang, he got what, $1.25 or something an hour? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think
that was foul. That was,
yeah,
that
that's
was
like
like, damn. But then we look back at today and we're all still trying to fight for $15 an hour. While
right,
him back in the old days, maybe like 10 or 12, he was getting like $1.25. I mean, like maybe back then, that was a lot of money. And we're looking about now, I'm like, man, this $15 still ain't nothing. But we're
Yep.
still, trying to make it work no matter what.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, I think my first job, I got paid $4.25. Uh, I used to work at this retirement home called Robin Run here on the northwest side of Indianapolis. Was a bus boy, you know what I mean? First time getting a job. I was excited because I was like, man, so now just like how Aaron was, like, I don't have to ask my parents for money no more. I'm about to get out here and work for it, you know what I mean? And, you know, start getting my own stuff, my own clothes, my own shoes. I ain't gonna complain about why I don't got shoes and clothes and stuff no more. Now I can work for it and stuff. But one thing it also, you know, points out to me though, is how like at a young age, at various different generations, it was kids that was working at a very young age. And when you look at it from a capitalist standpoint, they use child labor as a way to exploit our class even more. You know, that's one thing that this type of stuff highlights out to me too. You know what I mean? Did you have something else you want to say, Zoom user? And well, I see that you're unmuted. Did you want to say something?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I just want to say that it was just, yeah, like you were saying, it's just wild thinking, just seeing the different wages that were being given back then versus today, and due to the capitalists wanting to maximize profit, wages keep on being cut while the cost of living continues to increase and skyrocket, and it's just.
Right.
And it's just wild how even $15 today is nothing but $1 back then. Might have been a lot of money, or it might have been. It's just wild to think about. So yeah.
Yeah, because we look at that $1.25, we like, wow. But yeah, like really think about this. The minimum wage now is $7.25, I believe, around the country in most places. Some states have their own minimum wage where it's $15. But think about this. When we hear somebody say $7.25, like that's equivalent to us hearing like them working for $1.25. It's like unbelievable. You know what I'm saying? Like you just said, $15 is hard for a lot of people. At the job I work at right now, most people at my job have 2 full-time jobs. Just to survive. That's the reality. And it makes me think.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and some states there are some people who need 3 or 4 jobs just to get by.
Yeah.
It's atrocious just seeing the lengths that people have to go just to survive, just to have shelter, just to have clean water and food on the table, and even then their wages are still getting cut. The cost of living is still going up. So it's just horrible.
Yeah. Alyssa makes a good point in the chat. She said, and think about this, can't even get a fast food meal for $7.25, at least in Connecticut. Like you literally got to work an hour and a half to even get a combo meal at most of the fast food joints. You know what I mean?
If you're thinking about even people that don't have jobs or homes and stuff like that, like imagine people that are panhandling or whatever, like getting $7.25 is probably not that easy to, you know what I mean? Like, so imagine them just trying to feed themselves for one day.
Right. Yeah.
And then people are like, oh, well, just get a job. And then you make $15 an hour. And then you get, I don't know, $200 a week. I don't know. I'm not doing actual math. So, but you know what I mean? And then it's okay, well, how do you feed yourself with the $200? That's going to literally, it takes that much to essentially feed yourself and clothe yourself for the week. You don't need money and build in this, I don't know, system, economy, whatever you want to call it. It's full of shit.
Hey, think about this.
Economic system.
Think about this. During slavery, I don't know if it was Frederick Douglass. I know Malcolm X used this term or phrase, but he was talking about people under slavery work from can't see in the morning to can't see at night. That's what is equivalent to a person working 2 jobs today. Like you go in there at 7 o'clock, you get off at 3, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Then you go to your next job And by the time you get off your next job, it's nighttime and again, it's dark outside again. So in a lot of ways, like that's one thing about capitalism, it disguises something that is still a form of slavery. It's just a more sophisticated form of slavery. You know what I'm saying? High Thurman always talk about like a lot of people in this generation, just because we got a house, we got a car, we got a cell phone, we wearing designer shoes and stuff. A lot of us don't face the fact that a lot of us is really the working poor still. You know what I mean? Like we're only a paycheck away from being just like that homeless brother or sister out there. Glory's working ourselves to death. Yeah, like and that's a good point, Alyssa. I asked a sister that was at my job before she left. I asked her, she's like probably in her 60s. I said, does it feel like sometimes like life is being like you've been on a treadmill, like you're running, but you don't get nowhere? You know what I mean?
Yep. On a treadmill backwards though.
Backwards, you know what I mean? It's like you ain't making no progress.
Nope, none whatsoever. You're living to work, literally.
Literally. Yep. That's it. And then working to die.
Right.
Go ahead, Che.
In 1962, I know a lot of y'all wasn't born then, but in 1962, I was 17 years old. No, I was 15 years old. And my first job was in prison. I worked as a teller. And you know how much they get paid me?
How much?
29 cents.
Wow.
29 cents a day.
Wow.
So by the end of the month, it wasn't, that's shit money, man. So,
right.
When we complain, we should complain. But the thing is that, remember, you may be suffering, but someone else is suffering more than what you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a good point.
Some people may be getting less money than you are. And fortunately, when I came home, I started working, and my first check, man, shit, I didn't know what to do with it. I went and bought some clothes.
How much you make? How much you make on your first job outside of prison?
I was making 35,000 a year, and that was in the 70s. Remember, in the 70s.
That's good in the 70s.
That was a lot of money.
You was making more in the 70s than I'm making right now.
I had close to about $1,200 of a check.
Okay.
Shit, I didn't know what to do with it. I bought some weed. I bought some weed. I bought some clothes. I bought a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But when you compare, and prison is prison. Prison labor is really, you don't get nothing. That's why people are always on strike in prison, because the wages there is really slave wages, man.
Yep.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the thing, even though it's relative of our suffering, like the suffering that we're dealing with out here versus the suffering that we was doing in prison is a relative difference. You know what I mean? It is a qualitative difference in certain ways. When you in a situation where somebody controls everything about your life. A lot of people on here know that me and Che, we did time in prison. I did 18 years. How much time did you do, Che?
I did 15.
15. And that was like a very traumatic experience in a lot of ways. Being on lockup units, I did over 10 years on Supermax, like locked in a cell 23 hours a day. Y'all read my book, first book we read during this book reading. But one thing we should, trauma upon trauma. I totally agree. One thing that we should all keep in mind, even though our suffering is relative in the sense that somebody is always suffering more than us, the key is to put a circle around our collective struggle, suffering. Like, what is the source of where that, yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot Rob Rich is on here too. He did time in prison, so I know he can relate to that part of what we talk about. He said, I made cookies in prisons for the prison statewide. Yeah. But the key is to, with these type of discussions, is not to do like what we did when we was teenagers and like try to out one up each other of who had it worse or whose oppression was worse. It's to put a circle around our common oppression, you know what I mean, that oppressed us all. No matter if we was out here working $1.25 or we was in prison, like Che was talking about, 29 cents a day. You know what I'm saying? We all suffering from the collective oppression by a system. It's a collective class oppression. You know what I'm saying? It just oppresses us in different ways and exploits us in different ways. And this is part of the reason for these book discussions, to build that class consciousness and solidarity amongst the different demographics and different forms of oppression that we all experience against this system that's oppressing us all. So that's one of the key things I think we should come away with this point, dealing with wages. I think just reading these type of books though, it just like crazy, because like the comrade said, well, it was $1.25 then. It's the same way we look at $7.25 now. Like, how do you survive off of like the bare minimum to meet the necessities? And this is the thing I try to point out to a lot of people. Think about this. This country is a lot richer than it was in 1960s. You know what I mean? The economy, last time I checked, and it's been a little bit, I'm pretty sure it's more now, but the economy now is like a $14 trillion economy, at least a couple of years ago. You know what I mean? So they're bringing in more wealth. But what does that mean? It just means that wealth is being concentrated in a lesser group of people around this country called capitalists. That 1%, you know what I mean, that is benefiting from our exploitation, our oppression. I read in a Forbes article of the Forbes magazine, I think it was like 2017 or something, 2019. It said 3 families control more wealth than the bottom 50% of the population in the United States. Think of that. 3 families have more wealth than the bottom collectively of the bottom 50% of the people in this country. Like, that's deplorable. We have to change that. This is what this movement is about. When we speak about the statement of unity, and we talk about we want to use everything for the collective development and share it in a way that is going to be uplifting to the people. This is what this is about. That's ridiculous. There ain't no way in hell 3 families supposed to have more wealth than everybody on this Zoom call, everybody in your neighborhood, everybody in probably in the surrounding area of your city, you know what I'm saying, of our collective cities on here, got more wealth than all of us. That's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to change that, and we're going to keep on building up this movement. We're going to keep on educating the people. I know he didn't really get off into his political development yet, but that's about to come. I think with the Sunday group, they're going to jump into like how Aaron Dixon start to get involved in the movement and stuff like that. And I hope a lot of people take a lot away from this book. Again, in my opinion, the reason why I put this book out here to be voted upon, it was between Bobby Seale Seize the Time and this book right here. And everybody picked this book. And I'm glad, because this is one of them books that you get a holistic picture of the original Black Panther Party. You get the good, the bad, and the ugly. You get the picture of him working with Huey P. Newton. You get the picture of him when, and learn the different character aspects of Elaine Brown, Bobby Seale, Eldridge Cleaver. Like, he knew all these people, and this comrade's still alive to this day. And like I said, when we first started, when we finish this book, he's going to be coming on talking to us. I'm about to reach out to him again, because I know it's been a couple months since I talked to him. But he said he definitely is gonna come on here and talk to everybody. So I'm looking forward to that. Once we finish this, like how the Second Rainbow Coalition, like some of the questions we gonna ask this comrade and some of the advice he can give to our generation. Does anybody else have any comments or anything about this last chapter we read?
Yeah,
I
let
do.
me just go ahead.
Go ahead,
Well,
Johnny.
I was just gonna say that because when we were going for the other chapter before, I said something about him reading poetry. Does he have another book? Like it's just him writing poetry, or is it like this one? My People Are Rising, because I should have sworn I heard he had another book.
He's writing another book. He actually, this book that we read right here is being turned into like a TV / documentary movie type of thing right now. But if I'm not mistaken, he's writing a book right now. I don't know if he has any other books besides this book. But I know I want to say he's writing one right now, and like I said, they're turning this into like a TV movie series about his life and stuff. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and he's actually working on that now. So like, I can't wait.
Is it gonna be like? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying he's actually working on that now. Yeah, next time I talk to him, I'm gonna definitely ask about it because I can't wait till that come out. You hear me?
Well, I mean, I actually saw something on when I did like a Google search, and I was looking to see if I could find, because sometimes you'll find different things around a book. Sometimes people read a part of it, or there'll be interviews, things like that. And I did find on there that there was one, and it had it's like a documentary. So I'm wondering if that's the one that you're talking about. I did watch it in its entirety. It was really good. But it actually has the cover of the book on there. I'll have to
Is
send
it a
it to you.
series?
No, it's just one whole thing all together. It's about an hour, a little bit over an hour, maybe.
Okay. I know he got some stuff on YouTube. Could you put it in the Signal chat, and you can put it in this chat right here? Yeah, I definitely would love to watch that. I think I know which one you talk about, because it's like he's on there talking about his life and stuff, and it might at times I want to say it flipped to like a documentary aspect or something.
Yeah, I mean, it goes into different aspects of the Black Panther Party.
Okay.
Talk about Huey, and I mean, just different aspects of it.
Okay. Yeah, put that if you can put that in this chat before we close this out, and also in the book reading chat. Yeah, I think that'd be cool for us to check that out while we read this book.
Yeah. I'm gonna look for it right now, and if I find it, I'll definitely post it on here. But
Okay.
I also, I'm sorry, go ahead, brother.
I was just saying, if you don't find it in time, everybody, you can reach out to Johnny Torres, me, Alyssa, Rob Ricks, Veronica, or Sister Anna, and Soul Sister was on here, but Sister Anna, and we'll give you get that to you. We'll send it to you in whatever medium that you want it sent to you. But yeah, definitely put that in that our group chat. Comrade Veronica, I think that'd be a nice documentary. I might not have even saw it, so I would love to check that out.
Yeah, it was really good. It had a lot of good stuff. Like I kept having to stop at different points to just like process what I had just heard. And I also liked, I really liked how it drove the point of the different things that were happening. He does that here in the first chapter that we read today on page 35, where he was talking about the momentum with Martin Luther King Jr. and where he said, I realized now that taking that spot that he was talking about, he was 13 years old. And he said that position of defense was symbolic. It represented an impending shift, a changing of the guard. All across the country, thousands of Black, white, Asian, Native American, and Latino kids. I'm not too big on the word Latino, but that's another conversation.
Right.
just like me, we're slowly making an unconscious move, positioning for the big push to change America. And in that documentary, you know, he talks about that. He talks about AIM, and he talks about the Chicano movement. I want to say in there, you know, the United Farm Workers movement, and maybe even the Brown Berets, I think, was mentioned in there. There was definitely visuals. But you know, that's another big thing, you know. And I know when we're looking at, you know, different books like this, that's something that is missed so many times. It's like I'm looking at it through the one lens, and I'm, you know, not failing to connect it with other people's that also, you know, are part of the struggle. And
Right.
so we just keep things separate, and we got to continue to connect those things, because they're not separate. And that's
Yeah.
what the enemy wants us to do, is to keep
Right.
things separate, because it continues to divide us. And you know, just kind of feeds into that you were just talking about a second ago, where it's like, you know, who had it worse, and you know, who was here first, and who went through it the hardest, and who's going through it harder, while y'all have this and we don't have that, and you get this and we don't get this, and this is handed to you. And you know, those kind of divisive conversations that, you know, just fail to bring us together in our common oppression. And you know, we're fighting each other, we're killing each other, instead of coming together and doing what we need to do to fight our common oppressor.
Right. Absolutely. I always love hearing your comments that you bring to the table. You bring a real substantial picture to, you know, this conversation. It's another part in this book I wanted to read, and then I'll get to you, Che. He said on page 35, and this was chapter 4, Rumblings in the South. He said integrationists were organizing and fighting for desegregation of the schools. Probably the biggest strategic blunder of the civil rights movement, and that it forced Black kids to travel across town to hostile, racially charged environments. While white kids were able to stay comfortably in their own schools and communities, Black kids had to give up their secure surroundings and the dedicated attention and understanding of their Black or sometimes white teachers. He said, but at the time, school segregation sounded good, and it felt integration sounded good, and it felt right for me to personally work towards Martin Luther King's dream. I thought that was a good point, and I'm glad he made that, because you hear a lot of people in the movement, they put us in, it's just like when people put either you're a Democrat or you're a Republican. Like, why is that the only choice? Either you're for segregation or you for integration. Why is that only the choice? You know what I'm saying? Like, we're offering a third alternative, and that's building self-determinations within our community while joining together in our class common oppression together to fight against the system. I always talk, and I'm pretty sure everybody heard me speak about this a million times, like we need our own liberation schools. You know what I mean? Like, we can't be trying to integrate into white supremacy. We can't be integrating into a capitalist system that's only going to continue to program us with colonial ways of thinking and try to program our social condition us to accept a second class subordinate position in society. Like that's setting our kids up for failure. You know what I'm saying? We should be teaching our kids about liberation. We should be teaching our kids about self-determination. They should understand the class struggle. They should understand what the first Rainbow Coalition and now the second Rainbow Coalition is about, of the oppressed, what Franz Fanon always called the wretched of the earth. Like, we're at the bottom, we're the oppressed. Fred Hampton talks about the valley. You know what I mean? We are in the valley. We the people in the valley trying to go for them motherfuckers at the top. You know what I'm saying? And get rid of our oppression. Like, that's the type of education we need. And this is the alternative to all that segregation versus integration, this bullshit that's not going to get us nowhere but another 400 years of oppression in this country and colonialization. You know what I mean? But as we develop as a movement and we start to get our own institutions, and we start establishing dual and contending power. Institutions that's going to liberate us while teaching us why our institutions stand in contradiction and opposition to the institutions of the capitalists that reinforce our oppression. That's the alternative we're talking about. And we're saying integration and segregation ain't the only alternatives we have. You know what I'm saying?
Liberation.
Liberation. Like everything we pushing is liberation. You know what I'm saying? And we're not only that, but we're the solution. Not the Democrats, not the Republican, not rich people, not this philanthropic bullshit that the nonprofits is pushing. Now we saying the people, we gonna liberate ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And this is gonna make us fit for when we come to power to rule this society in a way that's for the interest of the people. You know what I'm saying? And not a small group of people. You know what I'm saying? I see Veronica, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I was just going to add, because definitely that point stood out to me as well, brother. And you know, you mentioned there on page 35, and I just want to point out there how Aaron Dixon points out that it was in ninth grade where he had transferred to an all-white school, right? It wasn't, if you go to the next chapter, it was on page 43, he said it was his junior year where he transferred back to his neighborhood high school.
Right.
So it didn't take real long even for somebody that young to realize, okay, this isn't it, you know. But the issue of integration, you know, we had a real interesting discussion on the Brown Beret study group yesterday, and then also touched on education Wednesday with the partido as well. So it's interesting to me, you know, I stay on these different platforms because, you know, I always like to connect those dots. It's the same issue. The problem here was not, you know, us wanting to necessarily all be together, which there is no problem with that. That's fine and dandy. You know, we will learn from different cultures and we'll learn from different experiences and walks of life. That's fine. The problem here was that, you know, this child here, Aaron Dixon, as he's speaking of here, he felt that was his way out, was to go somewhere else to get a better education. He looked forward to that when he's talking about it on page 35, and really thought that was going to be it. Then he goes, and it just like as you just read right there, no, they had to give up the comfort of their home. Why? The problem is that, why can't I be in my home, in my community, and get a good level of education and be treated with dignity and respect? Why do I have to go somewhere else and go through all these hoops? And then even then you get there only to find yourself being mistreated, because there is really no qualitative change. It appears to be like, oh, it's progress, you know, but again, is it really progress? Was it? You know, we talked about it yesterday, you know, what a lot of the migrant kids had to go through in the schools, you know, being paddled because they couldn't speak English, you know, and things like this, you know, where we talk about the education system being a breeding ground for, you know, it's an indoctrination to teach you to be subdued. You're not taught to think, you're told what to think. And step outside of line with that, and you'll get, you know, quote unquote paddled. You know, we all know what happened at these quote unquote residential schools where we continue to find our babies' bones on them lands, you know. And again, it's another form of genocide. That was another aspect of it that we talked about. You know, there's more than one way to kill a human being, and it starts with killing the mind, killing the spirit.
No doubt. Yeah. And that's the last point. Then I go to you, Che. Think about this. They never was trying to they integrate our bodies, but never integrated our minds, never integrated our culture, never integrated our history, never integrated our pride a people. You know what I'm saying? This was an illusion of integration. You know what I'm saying? And it's still being reinforced today. Because a lot of us, when we come out these schools, we come out these schools with an inferiority complex. Now, think about this. And for white kids, it gives them a false sense of superiority because they don't really learn their true contribution of the other cultures and people around the world. So that gives them a false impression that somehow white supremacy is being tacitly indoctrinated into them, where they're being programmed to socially conditioned to uphold this oppressive system, for them to identify with the pigs, you know what I mean? To identify with the capitalist class and stuff like that. Think about this Trump MAGA movement and stuff, these fascists. This is a very peculiar contradiction, because you look at these fascists, and a lot of these fascists is oppressed people just like us from a class standpoint, but they're willing to betray their class and identify with the oppressor of our class, and somehow seem like this, they have a commonality with them. But the fact of the matter, we know Donald Trump don't give a fuck about them. You know what I'm saying? We know these fascists don't give a fuck about poor white people. You know, they're pawns. You know what I'm saying? The fact that they want to even like you know, when it keep the wages from increasing. You know what I mean? Like fighting against the minimum wage, even though the minimum wage is $15. Like, think about that. That's oppressing you poor white people too. You know what I'm saying? That's ridiculous. You know what I mean? And that's why these type of spaces is building that commonality of us, and building the unity and the class consciousness to recognize that we in this struggle against together, and we only can liberate ourselves if we liberate ourselves as a class. You know what I'm saying? Che has something, and then Zoom user, you jump in after Che.
Yeah, we are always told by the capitalist class that there's a lot of progress happening.
Yeah.
The only progress that we know and I see is that people are getting poor while the rich is getting richer.
No doubt.
When we look at statistics, we find that there's about 400 billionaires, not millionaires, billionaires right here in this country right now, 400 of them, you know? And can you imagine, you take all those 400, put them together, take $1 million out of each and every one of them to give it to everybody in this country, $1 million.
Yeah.
And they still have money.
Still.
And plus, people won't have to be subjected to the bullshit that we subjected to.
Right.
You know, but poverty was meant to be, as far as the capitalist is concerned.
Yeah.
Because poverty, in order for poverty to exist, they gotta be wealth.
Right.
The rich can't live without the poor, and the poor can't live without the rich.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so that's a conflict within itself, and that conflict is what's gonna triumph eventually to a revolution.
Absolutely.
It got to go to a revolution, man. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Because the rich is getting too rich, and people all over the world are getting tired of being poor.
Right.
You know, and so the working class is eventually, and I say a working class, it doesn't have to be a working class. It could be people that are not working, but they're also poor. You know,
Yeah.
so they're all gonna come together, and it's determined. It's written in history, man. You know, that in the long run, man, all this shit's gonna come to an end.
Yeah, no doubt, comrade. Zoom user. And is that what you want to go by on here? I don't know if you just don't know how.
I'm sorry. So I realized that I realized that my name was Zoom user. I thought that I changed it, but it wasn't. If you want, you can call me Gabby. That's what I like to go by.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to comment on what you said in regards I believe you were talking about how BIPOC people through whitewashing and brainwashing have been made to believe that that their best interests are on the side of the capitalist, but when in actuality it isn't. If I remember what you were saying, because because through the educational system, a lot of people have just been made to believe that that the way things are have always been this way, that there is no changing things, that there is no getting better, and that the only way to and that the only way, as you were saying, is either integration, or what was the other thing?
Integration or segregation.
Yeah, exactly. Only integration or segregation, but that isn't the only option. There's liberation, there's emancipation, there
Right.
is combating the reactionary sentiments and building a society in which the contradictions of capitalism are combated fully and wholly, in order to provide a society where everyone benefits from it, where the whole society is able to live a decent life with decent housing, decent food. So yeah, I just loved what you were saying, and your speeches are really cool, man.
I appreciate that. Zombie.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to comment on something that Alyssa said in the chat and kind of add to it. They said they watched a documentary that said something about our education system being based on teach them everything about nothing. So I think it's important that we remember, I think that's accurate. The stuff that our education system does teach us is extremely whitewashed, if it teaches anything. But I am a firm believer that the entire reason behind our education system is to teach people how to be good workers. You go in the morning, you have bells ringing that tell you different things. It's time to do this, it's time to do that. People are dictating when you can go to the bathroom, when it's time to eat, when it's time to go outside. I firmly believe that it is teaching children to become obedient workers for the capitalist system. Any child that doesn't fit the quote norm of that behavior is looked at as a problem, particularly if they're from the BIPOC community. And there's no encouragement for children anymore to think outside the box. They don't want you to think outside the box. They don't want people to be critical thinkers and original thinkers. They want you to toe the line and learn how to become a good worker. And I just think that's really important. People talk about, oh, we got to fix the education system. We got to fix the education system. The powers that be right now don't think the education system is broken. It's working exactly as they want it to.
No doubt. Yeah.
Exactly as they want it to. So I think that's important to remember.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was a good point. Thanks for sharing that too, Alyssa, to the group chat and stuff. Because like at the end of the day, if they already was said amongst themselves and people has been exposed in the fact, like it was about teaching us everything about nothing in the first place, why would we want to like stay the course on this? It was never about the people. It was to keep us, like robots and program us in a way and condition us in a way to maintain this system. We was just cogs in the system, and they gave us enough to where we could read, write, you know what I'm saying, and get work at their jobs and create the wealth they needed. You know what I'm saying? And even that, they're starting to cut education, a lot of the stuff that they were given that might have been beneficial in some type of ways. Like when I be hearing that what some schools is cutting out, like you don't have like welding at school, you don't have like automated learning how to do auto body at a lot of schools in impoverished neighborhoods. You don't have trades being taught, you know what I'm saying, in a lot of schools in oppressed neighborhoods. Like it's not meant to give us the tools for us to even survive in a competitive world, you know what I'm saying, that pits us against each other. You know what I'm saying? So we have to come up with our own solutions that's going to actually meet the educational, social, cultural, and political needs of the people to empower them to be able to actually fight for their liberation. That's what real education is about. You know what I'm saying? Being able to critically think and draw your own conclusions about different things. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us was instilled with different traditional values, you know what I'm saying, that should be challenged. Like and I'm gonna get to you Tristan James and then Soul Sister, but this is a conversation I actually had with a family member today. You know what I'm saying? Like literally today. You know what I mean? I told this individual in my family, I'm very outspoken in my family. I challenge backwards ways of thinking. Because we brought up the conversation about the LGBTQ I community, and you know, he was still, you know, he still set in his traditional ways of thinking. You know what I'm saying? And I was telling him one thing I am proud of myself about is when I went in prison and did that time, I challenged my upbringing. I challenged the way I was socially conditioned. You know, the Black Panther Party was very instrumental in that when Huey P. Newton wrote that 1970 essay, which we read on the book tour out there on the East Coast. But he wrote that piece about women's liberation and gay liberation, as it was called at that time. And that was a powerful piece to me. You know what I mean? Huey P. Newton even said, okay, Zombie, he even said himself that, you know, the LGBTQ I community, which he just summed up at that time where everybody did the gay liberation movement, might be the most oppressed community in the United States. You know what I mean? And in a lot of ways, I feel like Huey probably was right about that. I told my this individual I was talking about, I told him my cousin, I knew he was gay when he was 3 years old. Like we all knew it. Like that's some of the hypocrisy in this society too. Like most of us already know who in our family was gay before they even came out. You know what I'm saying? Or bisexual, whatever, trans, whatever. We knew that before they even came out. And a lot of the generations that still steeped in this Victorian bourgeois type of way of thinking, Christo-fascist way of thinking, you know what I'm saying, a fundamentalist way of thinking, a lot of them gonna stay stuck. But that's gonna be us to challenge them and challenge them passing that on to future generations. Like after I got done with that conversation with this individual in my family, like they was like closed lip. You know what I mean? Because they even admitted themselves. They was like, yeah, I knew he was gay then. Well, so what does that tell you then? You know what I'm saying? If you knew that then, why you want to live in a false reality now and impose your subjective bullshit on them? You know what I'm saying? You're doing the same thing, you know, that white supremacists did to our Black population. You know what I'm saying? When they couldn't see us going and drinking at the same fountain, being in the same bus, and being able to see us ourselves anyway. I understand why various different oppressed communities use our legacy to fight for their own equality and recognition as a full human being. Like we was not recognized as a full human being. This is what this is about. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to interject that because we have to challenge, you know, even our own family, because we don't want to pass this on to the next generation. And sometimes when we speak up, we able to close that down and start to make people really consider their own bigotry. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of white families had to, a lot of white people had to do that to their own family members in the 60s. You know what I'm saying? To even join with the various movements that was trying to rise up and support the oppressed demographics that was fighting for recognition as full human beings. Tristan, go ahead.
All right. Yes, it is Tristan. I would like to clarify on the education system a bit because turns out that the education system was founded during the Gilded Age in order to prepare school children to live in prisons and work in factories because those were the main two emerging institutions upon society. And there was a great shortage of teachers, so they had to design an education system that would keep people in line and obey authorities while preparing them for that specific lifestyle and accommodating for that shortage of employees, which is why we have things like the Pavlovic bell system and the inhumane short lunches and low quality lunches, at times even no lunches, as well as like just pretty much every aspect of the education system, how like even oftentimes students are just separated into different categories as they're taught as a collective without any consideration to the fact that we all have different neurological patterns and we all learn different ways accordingly with our experiences and genetic makeup and stuff. However, there is an alternative to the education system called mastery-based education system or mastery-based education, which focuses on the student's needs instead of the state's wants, allowing them to like fly through any subject that they may be stronger at while like providing them assistance with any subject they may be weaker at so that they would be able to find their exact grounds more easier, you know?
Yeah, I think that's do you know any article or YouTube or anything about because I didn't know about that how education started is the you know what you was talking about with the shortage in the workforce and preparing them for prison and control and stuff like that. I think these are good things that we can educate the public about and challenge the validity of these.
Yeah, sorry. It's been a while since I did that research project, but I can probably find it.
Yeah. And if you could put it in the chat or any of the what organization you are part of?
I'm currently in the UPM education course.
Okay, that's what's up. Got the UPM on here. Okay, that's what's up. Yeah,
become like a brown beret or something.
Okay, that's what's up. You can pass that on because I see Rob Rich is on here. If you can't find it at this moment, pass it on to Rob Rich and he'll pass it on to us and I'll make it available to everybody. But I think that'd be interesting to learn about that history. Because I definitely didn't even know about that as well. So I'm learning a lot about myself in this group discussion tonight.
We all learn something new every day.
Absolutely.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, but like, yeah, just like what Tristan was saying, if you literally look at how school is structured, and then you look at your average day minimum wage job, they're practically identical. Both tell you what to wear. Both tell you when you can have breaks. Both tell you when you wake up and when you leave. Both are structured in a way where instead of teaching you based on your individual needs, they teach you on how to do the bare minimum. And just seeing those two similarities and just seeing how the education system is just simply meant to A, make people more exploitable workers, and B, to bolster bourgeois thought and make people uphold white supremacy in the interest of the capitalists. That's all it is. That's all it is.
Yeah.
The education system is a part of the state. It always has been.
Absolutely.
Before education and the way people think and their ideology, that always comes first when it comes to the bourgeois and making people uphold their interests, making people ideologically think those thoughts, those reactionary thoughts, those bigoted thoughts. And only through the liberation of the ideology of people can there be a political success within the masses. I hope that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it definitely do. What organization you a part of?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not doing any praxis or any physical organization, but I was invited in the UPM
Okay, yeah.
education thing as well. So yeah.
Okay, so you're a part of UPM too. Well,
Yep.
hey man, I'm glad like seeing the UPM. It's a number of it's Brown Berets on here, Young Lords on here, Nassau, North Alabama School for Organizers on here, uh Guardian Rebellion on here. Like I like the fact that it's a wide range of comrades on here tonight. Keep on pushing this within y'all circles because we need to like popularize this book reading program because this is political education. This is the central thing that everybody's saying. Like it's absolutely necessary in order for us to liberate ourselves as a class. It's no shortcut to that. You know what I'm saying?
I have a question, if you don't mind me asking. So in this book club, what books do y'all read? Like, are you going off a list or like what?
Well, we started off with me and High Thermos book because we was doing the Principal Unity East Coast tour. This is the first book outside of books that we wrote in the Second Rainbow Coalition. But the goal is to start off with autobiographies because those are the easiest ones to read, but to learn about the Panthers, the American Indian movement, Brown Berets, Young Lords, and stuff by finding a good book that can teach each of us our collective history of the Second Rainbow Coalition. Because if we're gonna represent the Second Rainbow Coalition, we got to know our own history. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We should know who started the the Young Lords and how that developed, how that morphed into two Young Lords organization, Young Lords party. What was the rift that caused that? We should know about, the Young Patriots organization, how the Young Patriots party formed. What was that rift? So we can not make the same mistakes, and we know our own history when we talking to different populations out here. You know what I'm saying? That we want to bring into the Rainbow Coalition. So that's the goal of the book reading program for the Second Rainbow Coalition. At this point, I see it developing in different directions. Like I think at some point we're going to read the Red Book. We're going to read the Wretched of the Earth. We might even get into like the Communist Manifesto and different stuff like that. But right now, the goal of it is to, to know our own history and do it in a way that's digestible to people that might not be accustomed to reading right now. You know what I'm saying? But people will walk away and understand our collective Rainbow Coalition history. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Is it okay if I show you and everyone a book that I've been reading recently? I think y'all are gonna like it.
Okay.
Like on Facecam. Look here, I'll show you guys. Wait, let me just hello.
All right. How's it going?
So I've been reading this book recently. I am loving it so hard. Yep, I've been reading the book by Emory Douglas, and I've just been reading the Cultural Revolution that the original Black Panther Party did within their Black communities, how they managed to change the ideology of the masses through ideological liberation by using art to show who the oppressors really were. I just love it, man. People don't talk enough about Emory Douglas. Unfortunately, people don't talk enough about him. He's amazing.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful soul.
Yeah, the minister of culture for the original Black Panther Party. Absolutely. Yeah. And we and this just and we're gonna have to close this out pretty soon. But and I'm getting to you, Sister Anna, next. But we're gonna start real soon discussing what book that we think the next read should be. I have a few ideas I'm gonna throw out there. Y'all definitely free to throw out different ideas, but we'll be doing that real soon because I want to start breaking that week to week breakdown of the next book. Try to find a PDF for that. You know what I'm saying? And but yeah, this is gonna be something that's a permanent feature of the Second Rainbow Coalition. So the ones that's coming on here today, this your first time being on here. Feel free to come every Friday, Sunday, Monday if you can. If you can't, we have the YouTube channel on YouTube called the Second Rainbow Coalition. You can get it just in case you missed the day, you can listen to it at work, whatnot. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, this is definitely a permanent feature of the Second Rainbow Coalition. We want to keep going on. And some of y'all that's on here, like if y'all want to be moderators, y'all can just reach out to us. We always want different moderators to read and do the technical type of support type of stuff. So definitely feel free to be more engaged in this book reading program. So Sister Anna, and you'll be the last one today.
Hey, good evening, everyone. And I appreciate this book discussion. I think it's very vital where it brings upon unity in our community, although we are virtual. And I have to concur with what Sister Zombie has said, and where you have backed it up as well. Brother Kwame, as well as Gabby and Rob, regarding the education system. Of course, we cannot change what is already set in the school system, but what we can do is change what is in the environment. And we need to reach out to our youth. Of course, the education is set up to teach children or our youth exactly what they need to do to just work, produce, meet quotas. But it comes down to what you say, Brother Kwame, and I'm sure it had been reiterated in the book, survival skills. What can we do to help our youth to survive in society? And that's one of the elements that's missing, especially in low-income communities, where in a most, I would say, privileged settings, you will have the youth who know how to hunt, how to gather, those basic things, how to use AR-15s, but of course you're not going to have that type of course available in the communities in which I have grown up, and I'm sure some other comrades have grown up in. They have taken away the trades skills, where I remember when I was in high school, my teacher back there who said it's good to be very, very involved into your classes, but also learn a lifetime skill, because you will always be marketable. And one thing I had taken was typing. Rarely you'll see that. So it's come down to the point in getting the kids back to the basic of doing things as far as wood is concerned, cooking, as far as sewing, learning these urban survival skills, not only knowing how to hunt, shoot, target, shooting, or, something else that I wanted to mention. But these are vital things that's missing. And the one thing that we can do, in addition to sharing these ideas with one another, is go out in our community and speak to our youth. Ask them what is the one thing or something that they need or would like to do, which is not available in the school. Reach out to them. And the one thing I like to share, which I'm sure, some of the comrades has heard about, my upbringing with a community activist, of what my father have done, is that he was so involved into making our community out of a village where families connected. He, implemented these after school programs where youth was able to join, these programs and these recreational activities as far as softball is concerned, basketball, bringing that unity that meant so much in what was present with the Panthers back in the late 60s and 70s. And if we look today, you see that many of our youth is walking around in the street, and they really don't have any structural programs to set what's in the school. Let's continue on seeing if there's kids who need to eat because what they are serving in school may not be a complete breakfast, or they may be on some food supplement program, but there's like a minimal amount of what a type of food that they will receive. And you cannot educate a mind when your stomach is empty. And
Right.
this is one of the premise of the breakfast club, the breakfast program that went on with the Panther. So we need to get back and touch base with our youth and have that dialogue, have that conversation to a point where they can get away from their phone and start getting into conversations and book discussions that we have and hosting and sharing with each other as adults where we need to interact with them. Black Power.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Sister Anna. I totally agree with all that stuff that you said. We definitely got to connect with the youth, and we got to build community again. You dig what I'm saying? That's one of the things that alienation of capitalism caused. A lot of us don't know our neighbors. We don't know the person down the street. We don't even know the issues that people in our community suffer from because we don't know our community. So this is also one of the legacies that come out of the Rainbow Coalition, Black Panthers, Young Lords, Young Patriots Organization, Brown Berets, etc. You know what I mean? That this is about promoting. This was a beautiful discussion tonight. Always glad to listen to the various comments. I learned a whole lot tonight. Plan on looking up some of these documentaries and some of these sources that people included in the group chat. But we'll be back here Sunday. I thought it was 9 o'clock, Veronica. Is it 8 o'clock?
It's 9
It's
o'clock
not-
Eastern.
9
Yeah.
o'clock Eastern, 8 p.m.
Right.
Central. Okay.
Right.
So we'll be using the same link for everyone that's on here. That's the first time coming on here. It's the same link every time we have this on Fridays, Sundays, and Mondays. So just make sure you keep that link somewhere. Jump in. It's 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time on Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern time on Sundays, and then on Mondays is 8 p.m. Eastern time. So definitely feel free to log on, jump on. It's different moderators on those days. The more you want to be a part of it, just let the various moderators on there know, and we definitely bring you in because this is going to be a lot. This is going to be a rich development of this book reading program, and we want to get all the comrades as possible involved in this. So definitely share this in your group chats, get other people involved in your organization. Everybody have a great night tonight, and we'll be back here Sunday at 9 p.m. All power to the people.
All power to people.
All power to
All
the
power
people.
to the people.
Black Power.
Hell yeah. I
All
hope you have
power
a
to the
wonderful
people.
day.
Absolutely.
You too.
I have a question, Kwame, actually, if you don't mind me asking.
Okay.
Where will we like you said that that some of us will be recommending different books. Where will we be recommending those? Like, is there like a chat or like
yeah, we have a chat. Since you with the UPM, if you reach out to Rob Rich, or you can I don't know if you follow me on Facebook, but
I'm in the
on,
same chat too.
Oh,
if
okay.
you-
Yeah,
I don't know
so
what my name is on
Alyssa,
here. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't know what's
Alyssa,
my name on the screen.
Okay, yeah, Alyssa be your point of contact because she's directly a part of the book reading program. She one of the moderators. So if you have any different suggestions, you can convey that to Alyssa. She'll convey it to the group. You know what I mean? And what we do is we vote on which books that we reading. This was the book that was voted on unanimously. That's why we reading this first. So yeah, just feel free to reach out to Alyssa Ray. She's in the group chat that you in with the UPM, and she'll convey that to us. If you decide that you want to be a moderator too, you can reach out to her, let her know that. We'll put you directly into the book reading program chat group, and you just let us know which day that you would like to be a part of it.
Gotcha. Thank you so much, Kwame. It was an honor hearing you out, man. Like seriously, it's awesome.
I appreciate that.
This is a really good conversation.
Yep.
Wait, what you say, Alyssa?
It was a really good conversation today. I
Oh,
really enjoyed it.
absolutely.
But
Well, y'all have a good night.
it'll be on YouTube soon.
Right, soon, soonish. All right. Pretty
Yeah,
cool.
Rocky. It's
Right
pretty
on,
cool.
Rob. Well, y'all
All
have
right,
a good night.
y'all. I'm going to bed.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Too.
All right. All power.